So I'm with Ian, who's head of site and curator for Hyde Hall. Hi Ian, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Can you tell us a bit about the history of Hyde Hall?
Yeah, well, the history of Hyde Hall is the Robinsons. Dr. Robinson and Mrs. Robinson moved here in about 1955, having given up Harley Street as his practice. Came out to Essex, took up farming, as you do in your retirement. Became one of the notable farmers in the area, and this farm was about 1,000 acres back then. Bought up a few more farms. But as they were sort of working the farm, they also wanted to build a kitchen garden around the house to kind of grow their own. And they actually exposed a bit of an old stable floor, and they cleaned that up, thought that was rather fun, and then still needed the kitchen garden, so the garden expanded by default.
Okay.
So the vegetable garden was built, they got a little bit more into it, and then they wanted to do a woodland garden. And now we're in the sort of late 50s, early 60s, where it's rhododendrons, azaleas and camellias.
Yeah.
Don't really grow amazingly on Essex soil. So the original planting died off. Somebody said, go to the London shows where there's people called the RHS who might be able to give you some advice. That is what they did. And over the years, they developed this rather peculiar garden on top of this clay hill with the estuarial breezes coming off the shoreline. And got a bit of notoriety for this sort of pioneering spirit garden, which actually did better on that occasion. And then they got progressively more into gardening again, took back more farmland, and eventually they bequeathed the garden to the RHS in 1992.
Okay.
RHS took over responsibility in 1993, and we've been here ever since, developing and expanding the garden, trying to make horticulture fun, exciting, enjoyable, but also inspirational and relevant to people. We always now kind of say you don't have to have a big garden like this. Even a set of containers at your front door makes you a gardener, and therefore you should have a relationship with us.
And that's very important, isn't it? Because, as you say, it could be a balcony, it could be a little courtyard.
Could be basil on your windowsill in the
Unfortunately, we see so much on television with Monty, etc.
Yeah.
And it's these massive estates people have, and I think it's nice that people see the other side of that, and you know, literally having a few pots in the back garden. That's still gardening, and it's still relevant.
And still beneficial, you know. So yeah, definitely. Even as I said, basil on the windowsill in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, don't underestimate that.
So Ian, how did this event come about? Who devised it all, and what's it all about?
We were asked by the president at the time, Giles Coon Adams, who lived locally to us and had worked as a garden advisor for us here. And just after we had the building built, so all of a sudden this area of ground behind us kind of came into play as part of the visitor experience. And actually sort of said this will really help galvanise kind of you and bring some great visitors in, broaden the audience and the knowledge that Hyde Hall's here. So we started 14 years ago. We had about 7,000 people in that first run, which was only 3 days. And as it's got more popular, it's gone to 5 days, starting Wednesday, finishing Sunday. And we're now doing anywhere between 5,000-6,000 people a day.
A day?
A day. So yeah, it's become quite an undertaking. Every member of staff on site has a role or several to play in it. We all put it together, all put everything into it.
So how many staff are there?
There is about 90 staff in total through catering. I include retail, front of house, garden team, about 27 on there, shows team of 2 plus a few others, and an admin team. Everybody is having a role to play in it. Admin team on the phones answering lots of queries coming in all the time. So everybody pitches into this, which is a kind of a great moment actually.
And they all seem really keen. I've spoken to a few members of staff as I've come in and around the show, and they're all just so positive and sort of happy that it's a success.
Yeah, I mean, so much effort goes in. You want to see a good number of people coming through and enjoying it, ultimately. And in that, we're sort of spreading the great word of gardening, hopefully encouraging a few people to have a go, to have an ongoing relationship with us. Because I think that's the nice thing about the RHS. It's a charity that wants people to come, and in that generates commercial income. But ultimately everything that is made there goes back into the services, the membership, the schools, the education. So it's a charity that really kind of ploughs everything back into its charitable purpose. So the fact that we're inspiring, hopefully, younger children to kind of go on to be the gardeners of tomorrow, that's ultimately the best thing we can do.
This is the difficulty, isn't it? It's sort of you look around and we've got to be honest, it's a very ageing clientele we've got here.
It is.
So how do you encourage youngsters?
Well, one of the great things actually is through the school visits. We have about 7,000 sort of primary, junior kind of school children that come through on the educational visits. They will quite often go home and enthuse about the place. And then kind of slowly but surely you notice them come back with their parents or grandparents. Word has spread. So we've got that grassroots level kind of there. The real trick for us is keeping them in their kind of teens, when actually it's about going to the pub, it's about playing Fortnite and doing other things.
It's the same with a lot of sports as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Totally. But I think as sort of people are going out and buying their houses, my daughter being one of them, 19 years old, she's just bought a house for the first time really a few months ago. She actually helped me in the garden for the first time with her boyfriend, which was lovely. And there is the kind of the seed of something starting there. So the more that kind of thing goes on, and if this has a part in that, then it's got to be beneficial, and we will get more people gardening earlier in their lives. And I think there's so many benefits to gardening, as we know, sort of mental health, exercise, bending, stretching. My mum's 83, still gardening like a trooper every single day.
Excellent.
And is more involved for it, most definitely.
And also, contrary to a lot of people's beliefs about technology and the kids are disengaged nowadays. I've got 4 kids as well, and all the negative news you see, my kids aren't any different to any other kids, and they do care about the environment. They have concerns about the environment, and they can see that, growing a few carrots in the garden, things like that, it's all helping the system.
It will.
Nature.
Yeah, I mean, as we sort of say at the bizarre thing called Chelsea Flower Show, all of a sudden all these flowers turn up, and within about 20 minutes nature finds it. If you do it, nature will find it, use it, exploit it, and share it with you. So huge benefits to doing gardening. The more we garden, the more trees and shrubs we plant, the happier the planet will be.
Exactly.
So can't advocate it enough.
Excellent.
The area that the gardens occupy across the UK is phenomenal. So if everybody just did something, and didn't let it all just go to rack and ruin or become a bit of storage for the old bikes you don't want. But even that can have benefits as well, So But do something, have fun, enjoy, and share with other people. Definitely.
Excellent. So, Ian, obviously it's very busy. Everyone coming in and out at the moment. What can people expect on the sort of a tour of this event?
On the tour of this event, you come through the admissions building, and then you kind of into the kind of big grassy area. But it's actually nestled in amongst big plantings that sit just outside of it. So we've consciously created the garden around this event to accommodate everybody that comes in. So just onto the left as you come in, if you want to kind of cook coffee and listen to some gentle music and have a sip whilst you get over the journey in, you're more than welcome to. And then you progress down, you come across the plant nurseries. It is all about kind of plants, so we lead off with that. There's 33 nurseries, some of which do the Chelsea, the Hampton Court Flower Show, so these are professional growers. And they kind of take you around the circumference of it all, and if once you sort of spend enough on all of that, you can actually buy some sundry items. So trowel or secateurs that you kind of lost in your garden, you can replace. Ornaments, seats, all sorts of things actually you can kind of get here. You can basically reclad your garden in August. But once you've sort of done the show and you've kind of taken in further music that we have up the other end, you can actually just meander off into the kind of the true hilltop garden, the bit that's here every single day of the year, and kind of just get away from the crowd and the bustle, still pick up the atmosphere. We've got about 40 acres of garden similar to what we're standing in here, as well as another 315 acres of farmland and meadowland that radiates around this garden. So there's plenty of space and place. You can go, you can reflect, you can take a moment, as well as come into the hub and enjoy.
What's the building up at the top of the hill?
Well, we've got a cluster of buildings up there. One is the old historical farmhouse, which is our main admin floor, and library, restroom, volunteers, meetings rooms downstairs. We've got the curatorial kind of rooms in the courtyard that used to be the old cow sheds.
Okay.
That's their messing and office facilities. And then the modern side of the farmyard that was redeveloped back in 2015 onward is a big restaurant with toilets and then also an exhibition room. That today is extra catering because of the sheer volume of people. And in amongst that there's also the old thatch barn, which was the old grain barn, historically about 17th century. That's operating as a kind of a catering flex up, flex down tea room at the moment. So yeah. So there's lots. That sits in the hub and everything else.
Yeah, the lead up to those buildings, because it's quite a hill and it's quite a dry area up there, so it must be difficult to plant that area.
Well, we actually have been playing around with this for a good number of years. The plant collection since the RHS took over has flexed to much more robust plants that will grow in Essex clay on this strange hill that takes the sea breezes. You know, we have a very low level of rainfall, anywhere between 500 to 600 mil per calendar year. And we've been playing around on the dry garden with lots of stuff from sort of Mediterranean, California, Arizona. There's a few cactus on there starting to kind of come in. And the idea about that is it exists solely off of the Essex rainfall that we get here. We might water it in when we plant it for about 6 to 8 weeks, but after that it is then on its own.
Okay.
So it might be storage organs, low growth, furry growth, silver growth, thick resinous snap, lots of seedlings getting produced to kind of keep the plant type going.
Yeah.
But the dry garden has been phenomenally successful and shows you that you can actually plant up a space, give it a little bit of water to start it off, but after that, plants are amazing.
But it's about designing it with that in mind.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex are getting predominantly drier and drier, aren't they, with climate changes. So I think everyone's going to have to look at this, because water isn't going to be that abundant in the future.
No.
So we've got to look at planting with that in mind.
I think so. We also have to be careful, though, that, you know, on that we did a lot of work with extra drainage, believe it or not, under the ground. They can cope with the heat, they can cope with the cold. They can't cope with cold and wet together, which tends to be our winter.
Oh, right.
So you've got to take one component out, and that's the excessive moisture.
Yeah.
So we make it really rapid draining, which you would think is a little bit against intuition when you come into the summer, but the stuff's adapted to grow that way. Yeah. So that is what we've done. It's been an amazingly successful area.
Excellent. And haven't you got a big lake, a massive lake down the right-hand side?
We have a lake. It's reasonably sizable. It's kind of become slightly more naturalistic, as we haven't quite recruited the staff or been able to recruit the staff over the years.
Okay.
To ornament it. It will be in time as we slowly but surely push on the fringes of the garden. But that's also one of those areas where it'll be ornamental this end and wilder up the far end.
Okay.
So it will make that transition across as we go out into the landscape, essentially.
Yeah.
This garden, you've got to think of it as a wheel. We've got the high-level ornamental horticulture in the middle, on top of the hill. As it radiates down, we then kind of go to the more sort of naturalising species like grasses and briar roses in big numbers, and it drifts out into the landscape and the landscape in. So it's a garden that kind of blends on all of its edges. Excellent. And just encourages you to go and explore and have a great day.
Fantastic. Well, it's very, very insightful. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.